Welcome to the Hack Of MMA podcast. I'm Al. He's Bruce.
What's up?
And this is the podcast talking about the hack of everything. But as Bruce pointed out to me 2 seconds ago, we don't really talk about the hack of anything. We just talk about shit.
Yeah, we pick a subject and
We're
talk
not changing the name of the podcast now.
I think we talk about that subject and we're both money fucks.
Yeah.
So therefore...
So it works out.
Yeah. It's all the same.
This episode, this week, is going to be MMA. I like MMA. Big fan.
Yeah.
Bruce was a fairly big fan of the UFC back in the day.
Yeah.
He kind of doesn't watch it as much. I don't watch it as much anymore now, but there's a lot of hacky stuff to talk about in MMA.
There is, especially if you go back to the start. But yeah, I just don't watch it now. I just kind of... I don't know, I don't have the time for it. It's staying up late.
It's because where we live.
Yeah, it's staying up late that really got to me, where I was like, and then I wasn't into watching the fights after because I don't have the self-control not to watch
the highlights or not to watch.
Check the results. Yeah, that was a problem. But you're also a blue belt in UFC, aren't you?
In UFC, I'm a UFC blue belt. Yeah. Yes, I am.
In jiu-jitsu.
In jiu-jitsu, yeah, which is UFC.
Yeah.
Ground
UFC.
You know the people that, like, when I tell them they do jiu-jitsu, they assume I do MMA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just think MMA and jiu-jitsu are intertwined, but it's not like...
What you should say to those people is, do you know the part where it gets into the fight and you go, oh, I don't like this, that's what I do.
That's what I do, yeah. Now when you turn the fight off, because like, this is boring, they're just on the ground, that's what I do.
Yeah, that's what I'm into.
Yeah. I'm into that too. Rolling around, sweaty man. It's beautiful. But you said it, like, talking about the hacky things about MMA, the early days, like early UFC, is insane when you look at it now. Like,
it's atrocious. Like, I think even if you go as far as UFC 20, they're wearing shoes.
Yeah, man, I know, yeah. Chuck Liddell in a pair of shoes.
Booting some lad in the mouth with a shoe on.
No holds barred, man.
It's fucking
I think they introduced a few rules after the first 2.
Yeah, that was only literally like the bare bones and you're not allowed to hit them in the balls.
Which, remember that?
But there is a fun fact. I don't know about any UFC after, but the first UFC, you were allowed to hit in the balls and no one did it.
And the second one they did.
Yeah. Alright, but there you go. Someone's like, well, I'm fucking doing it.
The second one they done, it was like a Keith, something is the guy's name. He was like some fucking karate dude.
Yeah.
And then he was fighting Joe Son. And Joe Son was in, remember, Chemo Leopoldo?
No.
Don't remember Chemo. He came down to the ring with a cross.
In the early days?
He fought Hoist Gracie in UFC 3, I think.
The heck of that.
Yeah, Hoist Gracie's like, there's a bit in that fight where Hoist Gracie's trying to get him in an armbar, and to pull him down, he's pulling his hair, like fucking Chemo Leopoldo's long hair, and Hoist Gracie has a fistful of his hair, just dragging it off his head.
That's gas.
But that thing, your man kind of gets him, like, so... He's like, his arm is over his hips, but he's like facing away from him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he is laying into that fella's balls. Like, he is ground and pounding.
I feel like after 4, it's alright.
Yeah, but the fella that done, like, the fella Joson, like, got fucking punched in the balls, turned out to be a sex offender and he's locked up now.
Deserved it.
He deserved his pre.
When did the sexual offences occur?
Way later, because I think he tried to make it in MMA, but he was a little small guy. But because they were like these fucking, he was Hawaiian, I think, and I think Chemo was Hawaiian as well. Chemo Leopoldo, it sounds like fucking. In America, he could be named anything. But Chemo came to the ring with a cross, came to the cage with a cross.
I remember that.
Yeah. And then so did Jermaine Joson. But Jermaine Joson was half the size of Chemo, so he struggled the whole way to the fucking ring.
But like, that was like back in the early days, you'd get one lad fighting someone who's the weight of a sumo wrestler versus another lad who's a big guy with one boxing glove and one bare fist. And you're like, who the fuck? Like, I know it was kind of meant to be this martial art versus that martial art, but what martial art is one boxing glove?
Your man that had the one boxing glove was a boxer.
Yeah, but why one?
I don't know. but why one? Doesn't answer my question. Why one? I don't know. Silly, really.
Like, yeah, the whole thing was like freak show fights.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And freak show fights continued on in Pride in the 2000s.
Yeah, like they stopped in UFC when they got into Ken Shamrock's, Ortiz's, Chuck Liddell's,
Vitor Belfort.
Yeah. And it became real fighting. They regulated, took the shoes off. And fucking...
Yeah, but even like, if you watch early UFC, hacky thing, do you ever watch the real old UFC and they're in Puerto Rico?
Maybe.
And there's this guy and he looks like a point man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a big fat fucking slob of a thing. And it's like fucking Caesar fucking whatever, Sanchez, whatever the fuck his name is, I don't know his name. But he's like, winner of 1,000 street fights or something, and he fights Vitor Belfort. I'm pretty sure. Vitor Belfort, one punch, and your man is like, dislocated, like his face is in a different planet. Like,
Jesus.
And like, this is like Vitor when he was like
In his
20, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, ready to eat people alive.
It's crazy. There's a few people like him who were in UFC in those days, went to Pride, had a massive career, went on to other places, had a massive career, came back to UFC and still had another massive career.
Yeah.
Like, how old were you when you first started? 12? Like,
I think Vitor was fairly young.
yeah, you had to have been.
And he was like the first one that you seen that was like, that guy is a freak.
Yeah.
The first one you seen in MMA where you're like, he's a ripped. All these other owl lads that do fucking shopping mall karate, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
this was a Brazilian taking it serious.
And he was a like multifaceted, he was a jiu-jitsu fighter, and like, if you watch the old UFCs, the commentators, don't know who the early commentators were, but he's like, everyone's talking about Vitor Belfort's ground game, but no fight has ever gone to the ground because he's just sucking the head off everybody. Like, he's like, he was obviously on the juice.
Oh yeah, they all were.
All were, but like, he was like
even Chuck Liddell now.
I know, I had
like,
to,
I'm not saying like steroids, but like something that's banned now, they were all on.
Definitely,
like when that rule came in, the recent enough-ish with the you're not allowed a certain amount of testosterone. Joe when like Alistair Overeem shrunk half in size.
And
like,
he looks like what he should look like.
That type of shit. Like,
but you're saying about Pride there, and the freak show fights.
Pride was like the Japanese UFC, except it was in a ring and mental.
Yeah, it was fucking deadly. Yeah,
and like, as we were saying, it was mad rough because like if there was like someone on the ground with their hands and knees on the ground, you could kick and knee them in the head. But they looked at, like, in UFC you can do like an elbow straight down to the mouth while they're on the ground, whereas in
you can't.
You could.
Yeah, but that's what fucking.
Oh no, sorry. You can elbow.
You can elbow on the ground.
Yeah, you can elbow on the ground, but in Pride they were like, no, you can't do that, which is such a weird line to draw. Like,
and you can stomp.
Yeah, or you could soccer, like, run up and just belt him in the mouth.
That's it,
like,
but when someone's on the ground, you could stomp on their head.
Yeah, as he's getting up, like. Yeah. It's barbaric, like,
oh, yeah,
crazy.
But, again, the juice. They were all, like, juiced.
And not just juiced, I think the Yakuza were involved in, like, fixing those fights and everything.
They had to have been,
yeah, 100%.
The Yakuza were seriously involved. Like. But that started off with Hicks and Gracie.
In Pride.
That's why Pride was made.
He was the Heist Gracie.
He was, like...
Of Pride.
Hicks and Gracie was the best of the Gracies. I think I said this on the podcast before.
Yeah.
Was the best of the Gracies. And they picked Heist because he didn't look scary.
Yeah.
To fight in the UFC. He looked like the average guys, you know what I mean?
They wanted to take the piss out of people pretty much.
Yeah. So they didn't want Hickson going in because Hickson looked like a murderer. But he was beating everybody else in Japan already. So they set up this fella called, a pro wrestler called Nobuhiko Takada. Was like, I'm going to beat Hicks and Gracie. Hicks and Gracie isn't that tough. So they set up this thing called Pride, which was their pride was on the line.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, Hicks and Gracie obviously smashed them to pieces. And then the next year, they had another one for Hicks and Gracie, or the next event was for Hickson as well. And he fought a fella called, I don't know, another Japanese name. And then that's where Pride started.
Yeah.
Because like, when Hickson was in Japan, he was a star that everybody wanted to go see Hickson win because he was unbeaten. Nobody could beat him. Like, do you know
As I said, he's the Heist Gracie of Japan.
Yeah.
That whole scene.
That's it. He was the Heist Gracie of the Gracie family.
Yeah, and he kind of lasted. And he kind of lasted a bit longer as well.
Crown Gracie. Know him in the UFC?
No.
It's his son.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. I think he's one of the younger ones.
Yeah. That's Hickson's son. Yeah.
Fucking Pride had loads of freak show fights as well.
That's what. I went on a tangent there, but that's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, fucking didn't Fedor Emelianenko was like the heavyweight fucking king.
Yeah.
Couldn't be beaten.
Blank face.
But didn't he fight like it was? I think your man's name's Hong Man Choi.
Yeah, Hong Man Choi.
Like
a giant.
He's like 7'9" or something.
Yeah.
He's
like Andre the Giant.
Yeah. Like that shit doesn't fly in UFC.
No, and fucking no, you couldn't beat that. No. The last one that I remember being a proper freak looking fella was Bigfoot Silva.
But he just had gigantism.
Yeah, but so did the thing. Hong Man Choi. But Hong Man Choi's one was just more.
He was taller. And
he was huge.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely
Fedor
massive.
Yeah.
Fedor was unbeaten until he went to America, pretty much. Which also makes me think that, like, the Yakuza had a bit of a hand in it.
Very true. But, did you ever see him versus Kevin Randleman?
When he gets dropped on the back of his head,
then
taps him out.
Then taps him out. It's literally a second later.
Oh, man, he was unreal, don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying every fight was fixed, like, but it's just a bit...
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Do you ever hear, like, I remember because I was mad for UFC at this time, but like when Dana White was trying to sign him and his management said to Dana White, "Yeah, we'll sign him in UFC if you build a stadium in Russia and let me fight there." And he was like, "No,
no way."
Funny thing is, nowadays he's the money to probably be like,
yeah, you would, but Fedor doesn't have the fucking.
Well,
Fedor's not Fedor anymore.
I mean, yeah, exactly. No one wants him. But Dana White didn't have fuck you money. Now he had fuck you money, but not double fuck you money.
The best thing about Fedor was just the blank expression.
Yeah,
through everything.
Proper Russian.
Yeah, the one time you see him smile is when he's walking to the ring to fight Vanderlei. Yeah, and he just has like a little grin. I can't say it on the podcast, but it's just like a little like a child after fucking like, you know what I mean? After eating a satisfying lollipop. Like.
Fucking, did you ever hear the shit about his brother? Didn't he go down?
Alexander Emelianenko.
Why did he go to jail? He went to jail for like
murder or something.
Yeah, like actual murder. And like has Nazi tattoos.
Yeah. He's mad, man. Yeah.
Makes me kind of wonder about Fedor, because you don't hear much out of him either.
I think Fedor keeps a low profile, man.
Nowadays, anyway, he's past his prime. He probably just fucking earns checks in Russia by
being Fedor, shaking hands and signing checks, signing fucking autographs, sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd say he goes to fucking clubs and all. It's like Fedor is going to be at the fucking club tonight.
Yeah.
Just stands there blank face, takes pictures of a lot of Russian lads.
Completely blank.
Completely blank. Just like, in every picture, just standing there, different set of Russian lads around him.
Fucking, what was the first UFC fight you can remember seeing? Not live or anything.
Yeah, the first one I remember seeing was, it's an old one, and somebody showed it to me on like a fucking, not where you could download videos.
Yeah.
And it was Gary Goodridge.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, and it was, did you ever see the one where he has your man on like the crucifix, and he's just elbowing him in the head?
The ref just
and it was like, it was like Faces of Death, watch this fucking crazy UFC, watch this crazy he kills a guy in the ring. You know what I mean? So someone showed me that, and I must have been 9. Yeah.
The first fight I remember watching, like, where I knew everything that was going on to some degree, was Brock Lesnar and Frank Mir. The first fight.
The second one was the one that was the first one I set out to watch.
That was UFC 100, wasn't it?
Yeah, UFC 100.
I had that in my notes as well. The Hack of MMA, man. I went to Oxygen for 3 days that weekend. I didn't buy a fucking camping ticket so I could go home and watch UFC. I watched Rampage and knock Vanderlei Silva out and then fell asleep.
It's loud, that man card on that UFC. It's one of the best
UFCs
ever.
I still remember it was Frank Mir,
Lesnar, Bisping, Dan Henderson.
Oh, that's the knockout as well.
Yeah.
And Rampage and Vanderlei.
GSP and Thiago Alves.
Yeah, fucking GSP is kind of one of the main reasons I fell out of MMA. Him and his style of fighting. It's so safe and you win every time.
Yeah.
And you can't deny it's good, but who the fuck wants to stay up to 5 a.m. to watch that for 25 minutes? Like,
it's kind of like, it is boring to watch, and people say that about Khabib, but I like Khabib.
Khabib makes it more interesting than GSP did. GSP just held you there.
That's it. I used to like watching Khabib and just being like, right, watch the timer, we'll all put a bet on and see how long it takes for somebody to get taken down. Because Khabib is just, that fight with fucking, I always say this, but there's the fight with, what's his name? He's actually locked up now.
Khabib?
Khabib fights a fella. Khabib fights
Is there something
Abel Trujillo.
Right.
And takes him down 21, 22 times in the fight. Like,
Jesus
like proper slams
Yeah.
And the third round, it's a 3-round fight, I'm pretty sure. So far Khabib was champion. He goes to the fucking corner man at Abel Trujillo and they're just like, you just have to just really try hard not to get taken down. And Abel Trujillo just looks at his corner man like, are you for real? Like, bell rings, force like Khabib grounds him, suplex.
And even like if you look at when Khabib hit McGregor, like he held him down and mauled him and shit.
Yeah.
But he also fucking like just
sparked him.
Absolutely bet him around, like just threw his fist into his face over and over again. He wasn't lying on top of him like GSP.
He wanted to bother him.
Yeah, he wanted to hurt him, and he wanted to finish the fight. That's the main thing. You want someone who wants to finish the fight, especially if you.
Khabib usually goes the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he just had a point to prove. Like,
and like the fact.
Who doesn't want to punch McGregor in the face?
But even the bit where he's choking, where he's fucking squeezing him, he doesn't choke him, he just squeezes his face. Like, and that's painful. Believe me, that's fucking painful. But when McGregor taps, Khabib's like, no, like, and the fucking ref pulls him off and all. He's like, he wants to kill him.
Yeah.